Recording in progress.
Good evening, I'll call the meeting to order. This is City Council, Monday, September 8th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Darren Moore,
Here.
Eric Sarine,
Here.
Jim Mazias,
Here.
Doug Emmett,
Here.
Dave Anderson,
Here.
Don Benson,
Here.
Jared Trumbo.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item is approval of minutes from both City Council on August 11th and the Historic Preservation Commission also on August 11th. Would anyone care to make a motion? So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jen, second by Dave. I just have a couple of questions, seeing as though I wasn't there for the majority of that meeting, which is weird. One question is on the park signage recommendations and park designated funds expenditure. The motion was to approve sign style number 4 and the use of park designated funds for new signage. I guess my question is, was that only for in the parks, coming out of the parks designated fund? Because there was some discussion about there are other signs and there would be other budgets that could come out of.
Correct, it was the
Or
park
is it
designated fund for, well, just for the park signs, and then the other, like Jerry for Public Works is gonna fund his funds.
Okay. And then, under the library report, it just seemed like there was, maybe an incomplete sentence or something there. That's when they acknowledged that the replace of the side door
Probably has begun.
has begun,
Yeah.
or,
As far as approving the minutes goes, what if we see like a typo?
so typos just share with Tony, I have one of those too.
Okay.
I usually just give it to him after the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. If you have any questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is monthly expenditures. Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the monthly expenditures.
Second.
Motion by Darren, second by Doug. Roll call vote, please.
Jared Trumbo,
Yes.
Don Benson,
Yes.
Dave Anderson,
Yes.
Doug Emmett,
Yes.
Jim Mazias,
Yes.
Eric Sarine,
Yes.
Darren Miller,
Yes.
That is approved. Moving on to public comment. Is anyone here tonight that would like to make public comment? Please step forward and take turns there at the podium. You can write your name and address down there, and then make sure you talk right into the microphone so people online can hear you.
Copy that. Can you hear this?
Yep, that sounds good. And I'm gonna set the timer for 3 minutes just to keep us on track.
Know when I can go.
All right, you're good.
Okay, first off, thank you all for what you do for your public service. It's appreciated. I'm here tonight to express some frustration in communication with the Phase 2 project. I live on 710 East Bayfield Street, so we stand to be highly affected by this project. On October 23rd of last year, we submitted comments to the assistant administrator for the city and WSDOT, which included questions about how EMS service and how school bus pickup would work during that time, mainly or strong opposition to the sidewalk going to Superior Street, which we all stand to lose. My neighbors and I stand to lose quite a bit with the installation of that sidewalk and the traffic in front of our properties, the loss of property and what we stand to lose within that easement. Really highly increased concern on public safety with the speed transition there going to 45 miles an hour from 35. There are constantly cars going pretty fast on that stretch, and to funnel people across the road there really it is a huge concern of ours too. There's a lot of accidents on that intersection. So DOT responded by saying ultimately it will be the city of Washburn's decision on the sidewalk. We did not get a response from the city at that time when we submitted those comments. So then on January 6th, we sent another email to WISDOT and the city asking, is there a formal response to these comments sent during the comment period? And when will we know when the final decisions are being made so we can continue to voice our concerns and understand the cause and effects of these projects and what the ultimate goal is here, what the ultimate benefits are to the public. No response from the city at that time. Then a few months pass, we get a letter in the mail on August 15th stating that the right-of-way professionals regarding possible acquisition of property adjacent to the project would be coming and driving stakes in our yard. Well, the next day they were there doing it. We received the letter and they were there the next day. So we emailed again on August 17th. We emailed the city and WISDOT again, expressing our disappointment and this time our lack of communication and transparency. So this is my neighbor Hannah. She lives right next door, 704. I yield my time after that, but I just wanted to express those concerns that my neighbors might have about, especially the installation of the sidewalk and what's going to happen during that project. Thank you.
Thanks. Can you tell me your name again, please?
Garrett Koenig.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much for letting us know all that.
Thank you.
And then,
Hannah.
if you could just write down your name and address, please.
My name is Hannah Chechik. That's C-H-A-N-A. Chechik, C-H-E-C-H-I-K. My name is Hannah Chechik. I live next to Garrett and Caitlin. When he says that they communicated with the state and the city, that's Garrett and his wife. I did not send any letters, but I was waiting for meetings that I could attend to give my input on this upcoming project. And I was out of town when they sent pictures of the stakes that were driven into my yard, into his yard, and everybody else's yards. When I returned home, I received, and I don't know if any of you have seen, I would probably have what we received in the mail, each of us, showing us the property that they wish to take from us and where the lines would go. It would really affect all of us as far as property values, especially mine, if that's where they want to have a huge drainage into my yard. There's not even a ravine there. The safety is a huge issue. Nobody walks where we live. And they want to put in a sidewalk. The sidewalk where they want to put it is where the city plows. That affects all of us. The safety for kids. Nobody rides, very few people ride their bikes along that highway. I live there, I'm home a lot. And we see very little bike traffic. I can see trying to widen the road for bike traffic, but to do what they're going to do, taking property from people and devaluing our property and the runoff that they would cause in my yard, which is aimed towards my walk-up basement, are huge. We've done a walkabout. There are other safe options for that. I don't know if you mentioned this, Garrett, but he was told that they want to put a yield sign from the new development across the highway to our side of the road where almost nobody lives, for everybody to cross the highway and to walk and to ride their bikes. And that is just unsafe. There's nothing to call that unsafe. That just doesn't make any sense when there are safe options for the city moving forward, where we can keep our community safe. And we're very concerned about like all of our neighbors to be informed of everything that's going on, like more input on exactly what's happening and how we can solve some of these issues that are a safety hazard for us and property value concerns. That's really it.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you.
So to both of you, I apologize for any lack of response. That's unacceptable, and all I can do is apologize for that at this point. I did recently receive some communication, and I believe I spoke with your wife, Garrett.
Probably.
I started asking some questions, and that's why tonight we're gonna have the DOT join us to give us a summary of phase 2, what process we've gone through, and what does it mean, and then where are we now, and what does it look like going forward? And then along with that, I plan on asking, if there is a lot of opposition to the plan, is there a chance to change anything in it? So,
Is that gonna be recorded?
this is all being recorded.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And just one last thing, and it can be off the record, but when sidewalks are installed, they're not maintained. There's one across the road from us that is there, and from the moment it was put in, it wasn't maintained, so
Understood.
why sign our names on make the same mistake again?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here for, oh, sorry, Hannah?
I do have a question too. Well, they're going to go over.
Actually, I can't hear you very well, and people online can't hear you
I'm
well.
happy to come here.
Thank you.
When you do have a meeting with them, look at missing pieces. Us, we haven't had any input on this.
They're joining us tonight.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll talk about it public.
Okay, this isn't no final things tonight, and this is still all.
We're gonna find out from them where we are in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? I normally don't respond during public comment, but I felt the need to at least apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Joel Pickard, 17 East Third Street. I looked online for the packet from last meeting and couldn't find it, so I apologize if my question tonight was answered in that packet, but I was trying to do my due diligence beforehand. But anyway, at the last meeting, you were talking about an innovation grant. I might not have the name right, but I think it was an innovation grant. And on its face, it sounds good. If we want innovation and so forth, why not? But what I was kind of puzzled about is at the meeting, there weren't any numbers given, at least that I recall. I think there was something said about maybe 10% of the work could be saved in savings or whatever, if I remember that right. But what is the dollar amount of that? And the reason I'm asking some of these questions is because it seems to me, unless I'm misunderstanding it, that you're having this big group of small cities all kind of get together with the same sort of program. And my thought is each city has its own issues, concerns, and so forth. They're not all the same. They have, they each have a treasurer and a city administrator, some common things, but each city will have some of its own issues. And I'm wondering if this program is something to make everybody the same or to still keep that uniqueness among all the cities. And if we are really getting a big enough savings to warrant that. Those are just my thoughts.
Sure, as long as I'm answering things tonight, I might as well just give a brief answer since I wasn't here for that meeting and I wasn't here to explain it fully at that time. So the innovation planning grant is strictly for the planning part of figuring out whether there are areas where municipalities may be interested in sharing or hiring out certain duties that they feel that would be helpful to them. That's all it is. And so there's no proposal at all at this time for anything. It's really just to put the feelers out to see, is there even an audience for this? Is there even a demand for it among small municipalities that may be able to benefit from some shared resources and cost sharing?
And like tasks, like common tasks that can be done.
Correct, it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be anything. And if there is a demand of some sort, there's another grant. So this isn't costing us anything, and we don't even have to necessarily save money at this time. The legislature changed that requirement. We just have to not lose too much money by doing this. And what that would do is allow us to still have the same expenditures, but benefit from them more. But anyway, we'll see what the planning grant part brings forward. And then if there is some demand there is an additional pot of money that was set aside through the shared revenue process when they changed that formula last year. And the legislature really wanted to spur creative solutions for saving money, saving resources, knowing that small municipalities are in such a tight place with their budgets because of levy limits that are in place, and rising costs and everything that puts us in this position that we're in by not being able to bring in more money when we're at a place that isn't really bringing in a lot of development. There are communities that have no more room for development, and they're really in a pickle. So then the next step, if there is some interest, there is another grant that could be written. Don't know if it will happen yet or not, depending on what the results are of the planning part. And that would be to actually implement something like the development of a nonprofit entity that could act as a resource for communities that wanted to hire out for certain tasks. That's what that part of the grant would do, is create the vehicle for that to occur. So that's the best that I can sum it up. Thank you for now, sure. Okay, anyone else here for public comment?
I'm Bruce Lambert, I live at 300 Woodland Drive. I'm just here on the outside chance that you haven't heard about the tennis courts yet. You probably all have. I know you paid, or hopefully have not paid anyone yet for the job that was done to resurface those. I'm really hoping you haven't, because if you have, we've got no recourse to get them to fix it. I know some of you are aware. They're bubbling. I've got pictures here if anybody needs to see them. There's bubbling every time it rains. So every time we get a rain, bubbles appear on the court. When it dries out, they go back, but they're still there. If you know where they were, you can go and tap on them, they're hollow. It's gonna keep happening. We know that the people that were resurfacing had a problem when they were doing it, because they cut some parts out and patched it. The patches are old. They're a different color than the rest of the court. That's all I was able to spot. But anyway, hopefully they haven't been paid, because if you paid them, we're never going to see them again. They're actually in worse shape. I mean, they look great when they're dry. They look fantastic, and I played on them, and it's not an issue, but it's going to be, because there are times when we go up there to play and there's water puddles and we have rollers that roll the water off and then the court's dry and you can play. If you roll across these bubbles, eventually they're just going up and down, up and down, up and down. They're going to pop, they're going to break, they're going to peel off. We know this because in the past, we've refinished the courts ourselves as the Washington Tennis Association. Didn't get power washed well enough. There have been spots that didn't stick, it peels up. And so, I mean, they look great right now when they're dry, but technically they're in worse shape now than they were before they did. Because at least the bubbles were gone. I mean, they had already peeled up and we had spots. Looked terrible, but at least it was flat. This is gonna do the same thing, and it's gonna do the same thing in more places than we had prior to getting it refinished.
Bruce, I hate to interrupt, but I forgot to start the timer. I'm not sure where we are, but we should probably wrap up soon.
I mean, that's about it.
And I really appreciate the fact that you have been sending photos, and I did speak with Max about this issue. And we're gonna be forwarding to him all the information that we have about the issue. I've spoken with Tony about it. I know Jen knows about the issue.
We didn't think it was an issue during the Parks Committee because they showed and then they went away, so we thought that it wasn't, but since then I've been hearing that it's not, that, so I think
These
it's
are
gonna be
fresh-
turned
These are fresh
over.
from the last rainstorm.
Yeah, it'll be turned over to Max and the city.
Yeah.
Great.
So thank you again for your,
No problem. It was just a heads up, just on the outside chance, you know,
Well, we
things
appreciate it.
didn't get communicated or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Absolutely.
Such a bummer, thank you. Maybe just get a win.
nothing's easy.
I know, right?
Uh,
Something good. Where were you, Tony?
anyone else here for public comment? Seeing none, we will move on. Okay, this is mayoral announcements, proclamations, and appointments. I just have one announcement, and I'm gonna pass around copies of this. I do have a few extra copies for the public. This is about a project that we're supposed to be doing. This is a letter from the Mayfield County Land Records Department. And it's basically, they're trying to get all of the road data updated and consistent across all the different maps that exist. And so it's asking that we update our gas tax maps where there are inconsistencies with the road names. So if you read this, there are roads that are called one thing on one end of the road and something slightly different on the other end of the road. And there are just all sorts of inconsistencies like that. And so on the back of this is a summary where it's telling us what needs to be done. So we need to produce an official road name document where we decide which is the official name. And then we have to update the signs accordingly. And we have to update our gas tax map with the DOT. And we have to take away any old road signage that is no longer accurate. And we have to notify residents if their address has to be changed, because some residents are using one road name and the other is using a different road name. And then the county will then update their GIS in Novus, which is the tax databases. The most important thing about this project is that it's going to be helpful for the emergency services. When there are addresses that are incorrect and they're having trouble finding an address, that is not helpful when it's an emergency situation. So it's important that we do this. There's no extra time to do this, so we haven't really gotten a good start on this yet. They're hoping that, they keep following up with us, asking
We
how
have all the survey done, but it's the next step.
the next step, right?
Was it, when did this initially come to the city?
Was it a couple months ago? It was beginning of the summer, I think.
It was a while ago.
We have a list of all the roads that they contend are compliant.
Yes.
Okay.
And we know which ones are differently marked.
Okay. I always know where our drive is like that.
Mhm.
And I have a bunch of stuff on that, so for me,
Okay.
anything on this. that or other roads.
Okay, thank you. So what we'll have to do at some point is, I think council has to approve what's the official road name, once we
Potentially.
get to
That's why
that
if we
point.
get the list, there are certain different things, whether it was established in a plat or established in a road order or otherwise established in a CSM. It might come back to council or otherwise it's just a clarification of what the right answer is.
So I just wanted everyone to be aware that this is a thing that's going to be happening. And, like I said, there are some extra copies if anybody wants to grab one. And
what's the timeframe that we're
I
wanting to get this
don't
done?
exactly know. I
Last
told
year.
Iris,
I was working on this with Scott on East Memorial Park Drive probably a year and a half ago.
Okay, so that's different than what I just asked when we first researched this.
Yeah.
I heard like this summer, a couple months ago.
Well, I
That's
never
what
saw
got.
anything like this. That was just specifically about that one, and it wasn't from
So
the county.
typically it's probably been going on for.
it's a big project that they've been working on across the whole county. And we're the biggest offenders. So they need us to clean up our act. So that's all I have to say as far as announcements. And I don't have proclamations or appointments. So we'll move on to our next item, which is considering an equipment purchase. And that, turn it over to you to bring us in. This is tab one of your packets.
Okay, there's two items on here. First, there's a tandem axle trailer, 1400-pound tandem axle trailer. What it is last year when Scott Rasmussen was doing budgets and we had the mini and the mini excavator and payloader budgeted last year. We were talking about this and we had talked about moving around and with the budget we had, some of the stuff we were gonna purchase, we just realized we were gonna wait till we got everything, see what we had. If we had any surplus funds, we could utilize those to make a small purchase. So after we got the mini, got it figured out, we started shopping for a trailer. We found this used trailer. It's in fairly decent shape. It's able to handle our new excavator and move it around town, so we're not tracking it everywhere. We got it through Lewich's. They gave us a price of $3,500 for it. If you take a look, I think it's included in here. The line item under our public works capital outlay, we have a balance of $10,000 in there. When we budgeted last year for the pickups and the dump truck, we allotted so much money for those pieces of equipment, and we were able to purchase those with a savings, in which left us this fund balance of $10,000.
I
So-
just want to ask real quick, so everything has been purchased and processed, so this is the balance?
So right now, everything that was on our budget list for capital improvements for 2025 has been purchased. And this is the balance left with the savings, because what we had estimated for a dump truck, we bought it for less. The two pickups we bought them conjoined, and we got a $6,000 discount for purchasing two instead of individually. So this is the fund balance that's left in the capital outlay for the 2026 or 2025 fiscal year. So what we'd like to do is use $4,500 of that, and $3,500 of that out of that $10,000 to purchase that trailer. Then also, middle of summer, was unfortunate. 4 of our lawnmowers literally went down in 1 week, and the repairs are gonna take a while. So these were our smaller mowers, the ones we use for the cemetery and dump campgrounds around the campers. And so we had to call Lewich's because we needed to get a mower in here. So they brought us over a mower. It had 100 hours on it. It's one of their rental fleet, and we used it for about a month and a half before we got everything back up and running. And they were like, well, the rent is this on it, and you could do an outright purchase of $1,200 for it. It's a good little lawnmower, it works great. For the price and the discount they gave us, I just felt that it'd be foolish to turn the lawnmower back in, they're discounting the rent. So for $1,200, we virtually got a brand new lawnmower, and it runs amazing, and it's a pretty dependable machine. So I just thought in the same sense, it makes common sense to, instead of just giving the money away and giving the lawnmower back for $1,200, we'll purchase it, keep it in our fleet. 2026, we'll be moving some of the older lawn mowing equipment out and purchasing some newer ones to try and update all it so we don't get into the situation. So with those two purchases, it comes to $4,700. There's $10,000 in capital outlay. It's gonna leave us a balance of $5,300. And tentatively right now, I don't see any purchases, in that line item. So I'm just seeking for permission to make those purchases.
I have two questions. One is for Randy. Do you know if we're gonna need every extra dollar we have in any remaining budget line items to cover any expenses this year?
This year?
Yeah, do you know where we are?
No, but I would say, always save, always save, always save. Now, that said, to replace a mower and, what you've got going on here is more than reasonable for cost.
And there's still $5,000 on that.
Yes, and you still have some tagging there, so
You
that's.
promise not to spend the other $5,000?
Well, I don't know what everybody else
You
did,
will when I
but
come
Yeah,
back.
But ideally, the trailer, really is no brainer, because we
Yes.
literally have to drag this thing all over town.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
talking
and I
1
can
mile.
hear it when it goes by on the road, it's
Yeah,
not pretty.
not pretty, and so it only makes sense, and we knew this might be an issue, but we wanted to make purchases first, and if there was some surplus funds in there, we would be able to find something that would work.
My second question is the 117 hours before or after we used it?
That was after.
Oh, okay, so really not a lot of hours on the machine.
No, when we got it, it was
2015.
literally nothing on it, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Jared on that?
So what you see, just to answer, that 117 hours?
Yep.
Because we had it for a month and a half, or when I think it was like 72 when we got it, but those, when we decided, instead of, when he offered it to us, I was like, okay, so when they drafted up, they had to have the hours off the machine. So that's where they were at when they drafted this, so.
Any other questions for Jared? If not, I look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve these purchases.
Motion by Jared to approve, second by Dave. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't vote for it. Opposed? I have to vote at planning commission. All right, motion passes. Next item is closure of community development block grant revolving loan fund. That's tab 2 of your package.
A lot of the informational stuff here, I haven't been used to dealing with this type of project before, so just wanted to bring it to your attention. They're doing a consolidation plan here as you read through this, so I don't know the depth of what has gone on there and what, our involvement is, but obviously we're named entity on this one, so we've got some responsibilities there. And you'll see as you read through this, it's the first paragraph there, 25 to 29 consolidation plan. There's a transfer in essence going on here, and we've got some obligations to meet. And they roll through next year, and then you'll look on, as you turn the pages in your folder there, you can see the timeline going in through, all the way where it's transferred to a different entity. The awards are made going into 2027. Again, I give this to you more as informational. It's also to bring it to, Tammy's light, because we're gonna have to do some consolidation on this stuff, send it elsewhere, have to do some background paperwork on it, make sure everything's up to snuff, and then figure out what the new plan is rolling forward. So consolidation, and again, I don't know if there's been a lot of history here or not.
So we've had our own fund for quite a while, and we've been utilizing that fund for quite a while. They're basically telling us, you have to give your money back.
Yep.
And they're gonna do it all out of one pot at the state level now.
That's certainly what this is. Okay, because I know previously there was a community development block grant funding was given to the city, and then after a while that essentially was unreturned to the city or to the state, and we got it as undesignated funds. Is this seeking the undesignated funds that we already had, or is this the ones that are still currently tied up in community development block grant mortgages or stuff? Okay, so we don't have to return the ones that have already been deemed undesignated.
I don't believe so, but that's a good question to make
Yes,
sure of.
clarifying that, because that's a big thing, like all of the pseudo loan funding, all of that came out of the previously undesignated community development block grant funds. So just to clarify on that
Yeah,
issue,
okay.
whether it's only the ones that are still
So
outstanding, or it's all of them.
I think it's the ones that were just still outstanding, and they had been paid off recently, and they saw that we had a balance.
Yes.
And so they're saying, well, rather than it just sitting there, we're gonna collect all the money back and do grants out of one central location. Well, that's unfortunate for us, because we do a lot of grants through that. It
Yeah,
just
that's what I was
happened
gonna
to
say, it
be.
doesn't help us at all.
No, it doesn't. It's not, but it's nothing we have a choice in. They're literally just telling us that this is how it's gonna be.
Well,
And
there was
so-
some listing
so we did-
sessions, like in, I don't know, I think like the timeline's weird, like February 2025, there was a listing session scheduled. It's just weird, like. are we
Yeah,
just
and I
hearing
wasn't, I
about this?
wasn't aware of those.
I know, we're just hearing about it now, and it's, I mean, we got this letter on August 29th, and
Well, so we've known about it for about a month, I would say, before we got the letter.
so we missed the
And that's
February
why
meeting.
that's why we appointed someone to that committee that deals with the revolving loan, so that they could actually give out 2 more before the fund went away. So it's actually, I think we got it down to a pretty good amount. You know, we were able to utilize it as best we could, I guess, before this is happening. Did you?
And I think that when this happened before, now that you said that, what I think I remember it happened before is that the city had set aside a certain amount of money that they had in this fund that the city could make grants out of. And at that time, they ended that program and they said, any amount that you have left in this fund needs to be turned back over. But anything that you get repaid after this date gets to be repaid to the city in an undesignated fund. So I'm wondering if that is similar to this, that our balance that we have on our books right now for money that's available to grant out needs to be given back so that it can be used for something else. But any repayments on these over the 30-year term, then the city can put into its designated, undesignated fund. That sounds like what this is, but we didn't, this letter was, on September 3rd, so haven't had an answer, or an opportunity to get an answer to that, but hopefully that's the way that it goes.
That'd be great.
Because it was over $100,000 that we were able to get for the city last time that this type of thing happened. I think it was 5-ish years ago when we got that, so we'll get more updates on that.
So that's really just an informational piece. I don't think we can do anything about this. So unless anyone has any questions that we can try to answer, we'll move on. Well, knowing that we want to clarify whether that's the situation again. And hopefully you can help us find out that. Okay, moving on then, our next item is the Washburn Area Ambulance Service Report for August. This is tab 3 of your packet, and again, there's no action on this, it's just an informational piece. The one thing that I do want to mention along with this, though, it's looking like 2025 is probably gonna be a record year for calls, okay? And the scary thing is, everything's kind of going along nicely on paper right now, but we have 2 paid-on-call EMTs that are taking the majority of the calls that aren't through the full-timers, and those 2 are both retiring at the end of the year. So pretty quickly, we're gonna be in a bind. And so we have been having some meetings with the ambulance service about, trying to look forward. That's part of what that EMS 3.0 was, or 2.0. 3.0. So there's so many different things that are happening simultaneously. There's people in training right now, that's great. There's 3.0 thing that's happening for kind of a long-term vision. There's some immediate discussion going on about what do we do when those EMTs retire at the end of December, and all of a sudden we maybe don't have as much coverage.
So you're saying our paid
on call.
EMTs?
So volunteer is a term that is used, but they're paid on call, so they get paid minimal, what is it, like $2 an hour? or
Three, I
something?
believe.
3 to be on call.
And to the mayor's point, I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong in this, and I believe those two people you were talking about were responding to like 70 to 80%.
Yeah.
I think it was 80%.
It's a large
It was
percentage.
Massive number.
And so we're having some discussions behind the scenes right now that,
And just to put it in perspective, so
can you grab a mic real quick?
maybe I don't want to. So to put it in perspective, what happens is if those calls aren't covered, then we have to page out
Right.
Ashland, and that's where the
Aware.
huge cost comes.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out like,
And they're not always available.
well, that's why I was trying to figure out if they're our volunteer and we're getting more. So putting it in perspective that they're the ones that are taking the majority of the calls makes the difference, right?
Correct.
Because we are trying to recruit
Correct.
and,
Ongoing, yeah.
yeah.
And there are 3 people right now in class, I think it says in here. 3.
For the
students are-
EMRs.
For EMRs, EMTs, one EMR, I thought.
One year, two EMTs.
One EMR.
Says one of one.
I got one, two.
I've got the EMT sponsoring 3 students, EMTs, and 1 EMR. You get one, anyway. There's a few people going to class right now. But it's gonna take time to get them incorporated into the system. So that's part of the budget process that we're gonna have to look at is there a way to incentivize the paid on call folks to participate more than they are currently? And so that's gonna be part of personnel and finance and budget in general is, what are some strategies that we can use to encourage people to do that? We're looking at other services and how they have had some success by increasing the paid on call amount, but possibly by increasing the overnight and weekend. That's when the shortages are right now. So there's
We've done
various.
that, right, what we've done, those of us who've been around, this is not the first time this has happened, right? We've had it synthesized a little bit, but we weren't very successful, and that's when we went to the paid, right? So we've done different things over time to try to mitigate this, and it just keeps coming up in a different,
Right.
ugly head, so.
And comparatively, the numbers from where we are as a community versus the other communities is a pretty big disparity.
Sure, we're the busiest.
We're the busiest for the number of calls that are being taken by our service in the area, in the county, I should say. The busier service is Grade 5, but they do a lot of transport from facility to facility. So that's a lot of their busyness. Ours are actual calls. Yeah, that's one reason for sure, the nursing home being here. So it's a large and complex topic that this is just good information to have on a regular basis. It's nice that they're giving us these reports and just a heads up that this is going to be coming to a head at some point here during budget time, so.
Do we have the ability to raise our rates? That we charge?
Yes.
We are looking at that now and what can be charged.
So is there a ceiling? And are we at that?
When you say we, what does that mean?
Well,
So
Because they said we are
ambulance.
looking, I'm
Oh,
wondering,
oh,
what does
I-
we mean, does that mean
well,
like,
I guess the city.
okay.
So there's a group of EMS people that are looking into it, coming to the table with reports. I think Tammy was going to be involved in looking at some of the information on what could be charged. Is that correct?
So, yes, but it ended up not being her that knew that. She dealt with the billing company though. And we did get an answer back from the billing company saying, you basically are doing everything you should be doing. You're doing it well now. You can't improve upon it because we're already doing it as, you're maxing things out as well as you can by being very complete and specific with what is happening. So, yeah, all sorts of things are being looked at as possible parts to the solution. So stay tuned. Okay, so that was our report, and moving on to tab 4, discussion and action on MOU with Bayfield Area Trails. This is the first I've seen this or heard about it. I don't know if there's been a lot of conversation with Bayfield Area Trails or.
So as I put in the memo, when did I say this? Last year, do you remember? Jen and I actually, last year, Jen and I met actually with the group. So the Bayfield Area Trails group had some funding from the, I believe it was the National Park Service to help put together a more of a comprehensive plan for recreational trails within Bayfield County.
Actually, they got a grant through the State Department of Tourism.
Oh, okay.
Through the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, okay. But then they're working with people from the Park Service.
They're
For
They're
this
partnering with anyone who's involved with trails in the area, starting right in Bayfield and kind of going out from there, and now they're getting to us.
Yeah, so last year Jen and I met with them to talk about the items that we have identified in our outdoor recreation plan as for curb trails and trail improvements, or the hopes for. Just recently, when I say last month, they had a reconnaissance visit for a week. So the Park Service folks came to Bayfield County and they basically spent all week just going around and looking at the different trail options or the suggestions. So I met with them actually twice. So with Erica Lang, and we looked at the walking trail, our improvement at some point of the railroad grade up to Superior Avenue. We also have in the outdoor rec plan the possibility of the DuPont Circle route, and talked about different ways of connecting that to a trail system to make a more larger non-motorized trail system within the city. And then the possibilities of also connecting Washburn trails with other regional trails. Could you get from here to Mayfield? And then I was also invited to a larger meeting that week, just as a more of a recap of what was talked about across the county and where they visited. And then at that time, I was invited by, what's her name? I can't remember her name.
Oh, Kate?
Kate Kitchell, to join on into the group, and she gave me an MOU. So that's what they've been doing with different groups and municipalities as well. And then I took this to the Parks meeting last week to discuss about it. And again, Erica being with Landmark Conservancy, they already have an MOU with the organization because they work with trails and they go across the county. And the Parks Committee recommended to sign the MOU and join it.
Do you have anything to add, Jen, about the Parks Committee recommending we sign the MOU? Is this adding another regular meeting to someone's plate?
No, I don't think it is. I just think from my perspective, every time something like this happens, like when I came to the meeting last year, it was like last minute. Like, oh, hey, they're here. Jen, you wanna come down to City Hall? And it's like, oh yeah, oh hey, guess what? 25's out there in town and they're looking at our trails. So this is what's happened each time. So in terms of like planning, but I also know that this is a really good group. And they really started in Bayfield and they're trying to expand, and I really appreciate them like trying to get us in the loop and looking at like more regionally. So I don't think it does not say any, we don't really have to like actually go to meetings, we don't have to like give money or anything. I would like us to, you know, I mean, I think where we can, we should try to be involved, because I think from a tourism standpoint, it is a really good idea for us to continue to improve our trail systems and connect them to other regional hubs, right? So I think it's good. I've been slightly not impressed in terms of the coordination, you know, but I'm gonna give a little leeway because I just know that sometimes stuff happens. I'm hoping that we can do better. Maybe this MOU will help us. I don't think it's gonna hurt us.
And if it doesn't work out, we can back out in 30 days notice.
And it looks like at the end it says, other than 10 and 11, this MOU is not intended to create any legally enforceable representations nor binding obligations, but rather is intended to facilitate discussions regarding general areas of cooperation. So if you look at 10, budget and resources, encourages pooling resources in time and dollars toward common priorities.
I'm hoping
Maybe
that we
pursue additional
communication will be
funds.
better. I'm hoping that we can reach out to Kate to be like, more heads up, would it be nice for the Parks Committee to have a little bit more interaction? I mean, I think there's a lot of, I have a lot of hope. I feel like this is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know that I'm slightly, just have not. Like, I would have loved to know that they were coming to our town to talk about the parks, because as a parks chair and city council member, I would have been, right?
Right,
if I had
but
time,
maybe if we're part of the MOU, then there will be.
we might get some more communication, because I think they've done a really good job. And I think they have a lot of great people that are involved in it, that are really looking forward and out.
And I think they have a work thing next weekend at Houghton Falls, I want to say.
Yes, on Saturday.
So they're very organized, they are.
I
They're,
think we just haven't been in the
yeah, we
loop.
haven't been in.
It's like classic.
I think the timing on it is interesting too, because I think the original MOU was adapted in 2020, and it said 5 years from the date of signature
Yeah.
in July. They'll be reviewing and renewing potentially.
And it
So
sounds
maybe
like
we're
they-
just getting into the next phase.
I believe we are. That's what, one of the points that I had during our meeting was like, oh, if we sign this, it's already like not valid, because it was already like.
Yeah, actually, the first one they sent, the first draft one they sent was dated 2020.
2020.
Right, so this is,
That
so
was
it's like they're the February revision, they added that on there when they had another municipality sign on to it in 24.
So it sounds like they had a discussion amongst themselves, decided they should reach out to us and check out what.
And I appreciate it. So yeah, I feel the Parks Committee felt like this was a good thing. I feel like we should sign in for the MOU, and I'm very hopeful for the future of like connectivity. And when we first met here in the town of Bayview, you know, we're here talking about the Houghton Falls Road, you know, trail and different things. So there was, I think it's good. Coordination is really good. So there we go.
As long as Kate Kitchen was there driving the bus, because she's the one who started this whole thing and is a
Right.
passionate person. And, yeah, as long as it's a good thing for us, it doesn't hurt to be
Doesn't
part, as long as it doesn't obligate us to.
Does not obligate us.
So does anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Bayfield Area Trails.
Second.
All right, motion by Dave, second by Don. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Before we get into the next thing, I'd like to recuse myself from the next topic.
Okay.
My wife is the one making the streamers,
Got it.
so
All
I don't
right.
have anything to say on this.
So this next item is listed as discussion and action on streamers. The idea came from the beautification committee, the ad hoc beautification committee, for the highway. And the discussion is listed as colors, timeframes for placement, et cetera, on light poles. I have to say, I was surprised at the dedication of the benches during homecoming, that this was announced by a member of the ad hoc committee, and like it was happening, and immediately started fundraising. And I was standing there with my jaw dropped, because I had never heard anything about this at all. So,
I could just give a quick overview, and then I think I don't think this should be in our packet right now. So the only thing that has been approved was, I'm now, since Tracy stepped, whatever she didn't reelect, right? And so I'm now the council representative on that committee, and the only thing that we talked about was the fact that we needed, this idea came up to start to design something simply because we don't have very much color in the town, and so we were kind of thinking, we really love like the new silhouettes in the metal, but we really want to provide some color. So there was some discussion of doing a prototype, and we said, yeah, that sounds great. And then all of a sudden it blew up to this. This is not ready for council. It has not gone back. We don't have cost estimates. I feel like I met with Randy last week and a couple of folks here on Friday to talk about it. We were gonna kind of just put one up to see what it looked like and then maybe bring it back to the committees, and which is not right. I mean, I feel like you guys can give your opinion if you like something like this or not. But I think there's a lot of work to be done before it comes to council. And, you know, I just got a couple other ideas of different kinds of things that are bigger. You know, like I think that if we're gonna do it, we definitely think there's been a need and some discussion on getting some color. There's some different ways to do that. And I don't think we should try to do it as cheap as possible. I think there was some discussion like, oh, you can get these for $25. We can do them like, I think we just want to do it right. And so I feel like, I don't know what the word is, but I would make a motion to table this. I would make a motion to table this item until we're ready for it. I did not ask this to be on the agenda.
I'd like to make a comment just before that.
Wait, now we have a motion on the table, so
Okay.
would anyone care for this second? Okay, Eric, motion, second to table the item, and then can there be discussion?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Go
ahead,
I was trying to do. Yeah, my biggest concern, you know, everyone has a different opinion on what's beautiful, so.
Yep.
My biggest concern is adding labor hours to the maintenance of these getting stuck in the silhouettes, like our American flags are getting stuck in the silhouettes.
Correct.
Like,
between
so that's,
like, yeah,
Going
that's my
around.
biggest concern. It's
And
like, let's
American-
just not make our lives harder.
and there's some other designs that maybe don't do that whole like into
This
things.
design's not ready.
And
Right.
I did make a mistake.
Uh-oh.
There is no discussion
On the table.
on a motion to table.
Oh, okay.
Already done.
So,
Sorry.
I let you finish.
I rescind my comment.
It's okay, I'm just stopping the conversation at this point, and we have a motion to table and a second, all in favor.
All right.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, we're gonna move on.
And Mary, just regarding the, if I can I looked back at my notes on the comments that I had made on the community development block grant issue. The previous one that was closed out was the community development block grant business revolving loan fund. And which is different from what was in this letter, that was the housing development loan fund.
And I think that's where I'm getting confused.
Yes, they're the same name, community development block grant, but it's a subsection of them.
Okay.
So the way that the city got a bunch of undesignated funds were that for the business development loans, any loan that was issued prior to 1992, the city got to retain all of those proceeds from the repaid loans 100%. But any loans that were issued after 1992, when they were repaid, they had to send back in to be whatever used in the next iteration of that fund. So just so you're aware there that was the clarification on my comments earlier, I was able to find that distinction.
But we
So I'll
still
still find out whether the city can retain any of these, because I know there's some outstanding, at least from the 90s, that I have been a part of renewing the mortgages that had expired after a 30-year term. So we'll see if there's a similar type of timeline that would allow the city to keep some of those funds. We can give you an update when that comes.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, moving on, our next item is the State Highway 13 project, Phase 2, project update with WSDOT. Is Jessica online with us? Awesome. Hi, Jessica.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'm gonna just turn it over to you if that's okay. Jessica's gonna give us kind of an overview of the Phase 2 process, where we've been, what has happened up to now, what we're looking at going forward. Because it's been a long time, it's been kind of a long drawn out process. And, hopefully we'll address some of the questions that came up tonight in public comment.
Can I just ask everybody to speak?
Yeah,
Pretty
so
clear, 'cause we
I
got a
guess
lot of
to
people
start,
doing, like, a lot of people are gonna be tuning into this, so just make sure you speak loudly.
You mean those of us that are here to
Yeah,
talk into
yeah.
the microphone, sure,
Yeah.
okay. And we can hear you great, Jessica.
Yeah, we can hear you good.
okay, perfect. All right, so we'll start off. My name is Jessica Dowd. I'm the project manager from WISDOT for this design project on Highway 13. I guess where we are right now is we did phase 1 a few years ago, and construction was last year for phase 1. So now we're moving on to phase 2, which is where phase 1 ended up to Superior Avenue. And basically, it's the same thing from phase 1 that we did to phase 2, new pavements, new sidewalks, storm sewer, curb gutter. City's gonna be replacing water and sanitary lines as well through here. Where we're at with phase 2 right now is we're at 60% design. So at that point, which means we've kind of figured out the big issues of what's going on, and now we're on to real estate. And I think that's where a lot of the comments from the city is coming in with the staging. I guess right now I'll address the sidewalk concern. Back in, I believe it was 2023, the city came to us and said from 3rd Avenue to Superior Avenue, we would like to see continuous sidewalk, because right now, the sidewalk doesn't meet ADA compliance. It's not continuous, and there's flooding when it rains because of that, because of the condition of the sidewalk. We went ahead and looked at keeping the sidewalk on the existing side, I'll call it northwest side. Came back to the city and said it's gonna be about $1 million on top of the rest of the project to keep the sidewalk on the side that it is, and that's due to the drainage, the ditch through that area right now. It doesn't hold the capacity that it needs. So we would have to shift the sidewalk back and buy additional real estate to put the sidewalk on that side. The city came back, city council, I believe it was in March of 2023, just said, no, we don't want the sidewalk on that side anymore. At our drainage concerns as well, and said, we are gonna be removing the sidewalk on the side that it is currently to fix our drainage issues. It's gonna help the people on that roadway, it's gonna help the roadway itself. And in doing that, we're willing to work with you guys to move the sidewalk to the other side. Along with that, we also said your sanitary is running down the middle of the roadway on Highway 13. Since we're adding this kind of hand in hand, let's take your sanitary line and move it off to that side as well. And that's gonna help the community. If there's any need to work on it, you're no longer at Highway 13. You're not digging up the entire roadway to get down there to work on it. It's beneficial for all to move that over to there. The sidewalk, there is a little bit of real estate needed. Majority of the sidewalk will be on existing right-of-way. There might be a little spots here and there where we might need a little bit more, but majority of it is on the right-of-way. We're looking to keep, you know, we're looking to keep what trees can we take, what trees can we keep, and what trees do we absolutely have to take. A lot of them I've been looking at and just seeing what we can tweak to try to save as much as possible. Otherwise, through that, a lot of the real estate that we are acquiring, TLE, temporary limited easement, and that is, we just use the land for construction purposes for the contractor to push and hold material on property. We're not acquiring permanent real estate for many parcels. Majority of the permanent real estate we do need is to upgrade the curb ramps to ADA, to be ADA compliant. So I guess moving forward with where we're at, real estate will probably come in and start talking with people. Eventually, we will be doing what's called a blitz meeting. We had it for stage one, phase one. Basically, we'll set up shop. We did it at the library last time. We'll be there for an afternoon. Anybody can come in, ask questions. I'll be there. Our designers will be there. Sign, so real estate can get signatures for the acquisitions, or if people have comments or questions, they can come and talk to us. At our earlier meeting today, Mary asked if we wanted to do another public involvement meeting, and I am open to that. We've done 2 of them so far, I believe, for this phase already. If we feel we need another one, we can definitely do another one. Plans are actually have to be submitted by August 1st of 2026. That's our deadline to turn in our plans. Bidding for the job will be on December 8th of 2026, and construction will start in the spring of 2027.
Can I jump in real quick, Jess?
Yeah.
One question I had, someone here tonight held up a letter that they had received saying it was about,
Yes.
the real estate or whatever. Was that?
Yep.
Was that for the limited easements?
It's for everything.
Okay.
We have limited easement and permanent, and everybody gets the same letter.
So will it specify in the letter whether it's permanent or limited?
That one I'm not sure about, but I can definitely find out. We have that consulted out with the letters to go to.
So people will be finding out from the realty folks?
Yes.
What type of request is
Yes.
being made of them? At
Yep,
some,
our
soon
real
you said?
estate will meet with everybody individually
You said soon?
soon, yes. I was trying to get an answer this afternoon and couldn't get a hold of anybody, but I will once I find out, I will let you guys know for sure.
Okay, and then I just have one more thing, and then Jen, you can go next. The other thing that I brought up this afternoon in our meeting was, part of the reason why I asked about whether we were gonna have another public meeting is because of the businesses. And, I thought, rather than turning the whole thing over to the chamber for the businesses, I do think the city should have some involvement in that process with the signage. I know we helped pay for some of the signage, but I think it would be good to have a little say with the signage. I think last time, it was good to hear that we actually did a good job compared to a lot of communities as far as helping the businesses with signage. However, I know I heard a lot of feedback about having to read the signs, like left to right, instead of having them bulleted out kind of so that they're easier to see when you're driving past them. That was one thing that I thought would be helpful, is to have some city involvement with that discussion, have a representative from council maybe be a liaison for the business signage discussions. And maybe if we do have a public meeting, that can be be an item of discussion along with the businesses that get invited to that. Jen, did you have something? Oh, a lot of things?
Well, I have some questions for sure. You know, first of all, you know, when we do something in 2023 and it's 2025, right? Most of the people in this room weren't even on council at that time. So this is, not most, but some, you know, almost half. So I feel like, you know, I appreciate you coming to revisit this, because I also think, you know, when we go through something this big in our community, when we were in phase 1 and we were talking about phase 2, it's super hard, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not easy. And so I feel like when we talked about phase 2, we didn't have the experience of phase 1 to start with, which I'm hope that we had some lessons learned that we can employ, right?
Yes, very
And
much.
I also feel as a council member, we didn't like totally have all the information too when we made like some recommendations for phase 2. So for example, so I'm gonna start with a couple questions. The first one is, how did it go? Like, did we do acquisitions in phase 1 and how much did we do?
We did do acquisitions in phase 1. I'm not off the top of my head, I don't know what that was. Again, if I have to say, I would say a majority of that was temporary. Majority of the real estate that we needed was for curb ramps to make them ADA compliant on the corners.
Okay.
But I would say a majority was the temporary limited easement.
I can chime in on that one.
Thank you.
It was very limited, definitely less than $100,000. I'm thinking less than $15,000 on total, the total expenditure for permanent acquisitions there. There were some other issues that came up regarding clarifying title and ownership with the city, but we were able to do that without expending actually money to purchase those areas.
Okay, and I think part of that was because it was just so tight up against the buildings.
Yes.
In the downtown.
Correct.
area
I
inside of
can
town.
see that. Okay, thank you. And I guess like lessons learned there, how we work with those homeowners would be great. For a temporary easement, when we're talking about where we need to like push dirt and like have equipment and stuff, do we typically have to remove trees for a temporary easement? Because you would think that we would be able to like avoid any tree removal in the temporary zone.
And it really depends on what we're doing on the property. It's a case by case. I can't give a broad yes and no answer on that. I mean, we look at each one and we try and save as many as we can.
I think there was a recommendation already for someone to replant some young trees that they know that they're gonna have to
Yes.
get
Yep,
into.
that they were planted in the right of way. And when we went through, we noticed they were there, so we sent an email saying it'd be in your best interest if you would like to save them to move them out.
Okay, appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
I can, from a city standpoint on this one too, any requirement that a tree be removed from someone's property on a temporary limited easement is considered in the amount of compensation that that property owner is given for that temporary limited easement. And if they won't agree, there's a process that goes about by actually having approved. So all of these, they have to actually agree,
Agree to it.
or else they have to prove
Yes, and there is
the
an
court
appeal
that it's
process.
necessary, and then there's the determination of the amount that's owed.
Okay.
So everyone that's gone through has been agreed to, there's been nothing that's been forced.
Okay, so that's all good information, right?
Yeah.
Am I asking things that people already know? Everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy.
No,
This is very good to clarify.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let's see, oh no, I gotta look at my glasses, so, and I guess, one of the things too is like I was under the impression when we looked at doing a sidewalk on the south side, that we had, like, because when you drive, when you're there, right, it's like wide, you feel like it's really wide there. So I was under the impression that we weren't going to have to take any property or do anything because of the sidewalk. And what I'm hearing from you is that's pretty correct. to some extent. So it sounds like the major thing is the sewer, and now it's all coming back to me, because, like I said, like, I feel like we haven't talked about this in years.
It's been a long time.
And so it's really,
Yeah.
it's really tough, and it's very sentimental and really tough for people to get a letter on a Sunday and wake up to people staking in their yard on Monday. It's kind of unacceptable, and I feel like that needs to at least be, I think, I would, you know, I feel like that was a pretty tough, and we should have a little bit of an apology to our community for that. That's pretty tough. Like, they ask questions, we have a public meeting, a year later, they get a letter on a Sunday, and people are in their yards staking like halfway up their yards on a Monday morning. It's just, it's tough to put the city in that kind of a position. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I'm pretty, I guess my word for this week is I'm just disappointed in things. So I'm just gonna leave that there. So I guess my other option is, I understand we have to do good water and sewer. So Jerry, at some point, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the water and sewer on that northeast side, or the stormwater. But do we have any other options? Like, if we want to have the discussions on moving or not having a sidewalk, like, how do we do that, and how do we start to like have those discussions sooner than later? And I'm gonna just be quiet for a while.
Yeah, or was that a final answer?
It was a
I mean,
final
Is there room for
Is there
discussion?
room for discussion? And then I get that we don't want the sewer line in the middle of the road. Like, I think that's kind of a big deal. And so do we have any other options for that sewer line? Or are we just gonna be taking people's property on the north side or the south side? Because it sounds like the north side was even worse. So I guess just knowing more information on that would be really great.
And then one other thing that someone brought up during public comment was the speed. And I think that is actually something that would be changed. Am I correct on that, Jess?
Yes, at the meeting today, I know we discussed it, and I am going to be finding out who from the state that you guys will need to contact, that the city will need to contact. I haven't gotten a hold of them today either, but it will have to come from the city to request a speed reduction through that area. It won't go through me, it will go through our traffic section. And they can, I don't really want to speak any more on that because I don't want to give any wrong information, but I will set that up so you can get in contact and find out what the next steps are for the reduction.
And I just want to say one more thing, like, I was in favor of the sidewalk being on that side because what we talked about was a nice loop, just for people who weren't here. It was a nice like loop that we have that trail, right, that goes through Memorial Park. We talked about that kind of being a nice loop. But when we were having those discussions, again, I did not think that we were gonna be taking people's property and that we were gonna be removing trees, you know, and so I feel like when we made that decision, we didn't have like all the information. I still think like that's a great, I mean, the whole point was to have ADA accessibility and be able to people to walk from one end of town to the other. But if we can do that like on 3rd Street or different places to improve sidewalks where we're not like reducing people's properties, I think it's at least, I'm hoping that it's at least worth the conversation for us to have again. That's my hope for tonight, that we can set something up and have some discussions.
Randy?
Yes, this is Randy speaking. Just a consideration for when WISDOT comes in and wants to put the tubes down, okay, for speed limits and numbers, traffic flow, et cetera, all that plays into it. You know, I mean, typically you want to hit, as a project management side, you want to hit the high numbers, which is obviously summertime. So I think we want to make sure that, you know, so that it, I don't want to say meets the warrants, I'm not trying to game the system here, but the warrants, it's basically, they use it very literally in DOT terminology, that it warrants this, because the number of vehicles or vehicular traffic without any stop signs or, you know, basically signal lights or whatever, warrants the fact that the traffic should be slowed down. Also noting that we have the new Scenair project coming up off of that street that we were talking about before, north heading out of town. And actually Jerry and I were just talking with someone out in the field, and that person had some land there and was discussing with us the potential of also a new driveway or two in there up at that north end. So some of those things just to keep in mind, because again, the warrants drive the DOT numbers, drive decision-making, and we want to make sure that we get them the ones that are actually reality. And for about 4 months or so, especially during the summertime, that's where it's at. Fair enough?
We learned our lesson. We had a study here because we thought that we would warranted a stoplight, and it did not.
No. Thank you.
All right, does anyone else have questions? And Dave? And then
So I'm assuming that we can still change our minds
Yes.
on the sidewalk,
That's what my comment was gonna be.
right?
Okay,
Because,
good.
honestly, I used to, that was my neighborhood growing up, and I can tell you from 54 years of my existence, there's nobody that walks on the highway down there. And I think the only reason why, initially, there is a sidewalk on the north side, which never gets used.
the ground is like over the
Well,
sidewalk.
I know, right, but I mean, it wasn't 40 years ago when I was messing around, riding lights, and no one ever, it's kind of.
No, but there are 40 new units of housing living right down there.
Third is butts right into that whole system, and they can go down Third and stay on the highway. I'm just saying, I would advocate and hope that maybe the council would entertain just
Revisiting it.
revisiting it and hopefully just taking the sidewalks out, since, I don't want to take property away from anybody just for a sidewalk that's rarely ever going to get used. If there was a high track pedestrian, but there's not, will be most likely. So, and if there is, then we can revisit it then.
Well, and it would be really nice to know from the realty division or whatever, how much land are we talking about? How much land is being asked for a permanent easement versus a temporary easement? So if we could have some communication with realty also, that would be helpful.
And
Sounds
that's what
like
my
it's supposed to
understanding,
be sewer,
that's what
not
my
something
understanding
side.
was that was happening with this. So 2023, city said, no, we're not gonna spend $1 million to do the sidewalk on the north side. So we told the DOT, don't even spend money figuring out the costs or the amount of land that's required. And they came back and said, hey, we might be able to outside it. Little to no, less than $100,000 cost to the city for sidewalks. And the decision there wasn't, yes, let's put in sidewalks. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. The city never said, yes, let's put in sidewalks there. The city said, okay, with that consideration, we want the information on what the cost would be, what the space requirements would be. So we're actually wanting to move forward with that information to see if we want that sidewalk placement. There was never a determination and a say, yes, we want to do this. There was a determination and an absolute decision, no, we don't want to spend $1 million to put them on the north side of the street.
Right.
Is that correct with where we stand?
And then done.
I think he's asking
Jess,
Jess,
you know.
Yes, yes, that was the question.
Do you know what the actual decision was on that?
I don't. I know we brought it, and since I haven't been to council meetings, just kind of the go-between of, okay, yes, we would look at it. I guess from our side, we kind of took that as, go ahead, and we would like to see the sidewalk. Because I know there was the talk of a continuous sidewalk up to, Superior Avenue, with that, adding a new loop trail somewhere down there, and then with the new development going on right off the 8th. Just quickly did look at the plats, and I can forward this on, and so everyone can see it later and review it more with you, but it looks like the real estate that we are for drainage purposes, where there's pipes across the way right now. And we need additional real estate for those cross pipes to come across for drainage. 4 corners, very small sliver for corners for curb ramps, but I would say 90% of the sidewalk doesn't need real estate to put it on. We have enough room within our right of way. 90% of it is just a temporary easement on there, so.
Okay, then we have Don and then Doug after that.
Okay, just one question and a quick comment. You had mentioned something about a blitz meeting for phase 2. There's no date yet for that, I'm assuming, right?
No, there is not,
Okay,
no.
so we don't
We're
have-
just starting our real estate process right now, so, which was the staking.
Okay, I just saw you mentioned that and I didn't see a date, and then there's no
Yeah.
date planned for the informational sessions either,
Not
but
yet.
we'll stay in touch about that.
Yeah.
You ride on a bike on the highway there. Infrastructure that we're gonna have to live with for decades, and we should really consider what's next, not how it's used currently, because it's changing.
Thank you, Doug.
Maybe you can't answer this, but does the footprint change drastically if you don't do a sidewalk? Because you're still do sanitary, right? So
Right.
is it a smaller footprint?
Not drastically. I mean, the real estate that we would still have to take for the drainage ways would still be there. It would be shortened a little bit, but we would still most likely have permanent real estate taken.
And you're saying,
That's
you're
what I
saying
look at, right?
drainage, not just,
Right,
not just the new sewer and water, but actual
No.
drainage.
yeah, pipes going across the road that are there now, we just have to extend them out a little bit farther because we are kicking out the roadway to shoulder a little bit more. Those are the only places for permanent real estate right now.
So the sidewalk really doesn't have much to do with the permanent real estate.
Well, I think that's what we need to see on paper and be able to
Yep.
look at with our community. I think that's really important. And then I also think that we have to think about any other options, right? Because we're talking like, really changing, if we are taking real estate, like, are there things we're not thinking of, right? Like, I mean, we obviously, is it a deal breaker? We definitely want the sewer out from under the highway, right? So you have to put it one side or the other. And same thing with some of the crossings that are taking property. Are there, that's where Jerry, I know that Jerry, you've taken a look at it down there, like some of the stormwater and some of the crossings, like we had an individual come here tonight and say, there's not even a drainage and they're looking for a crossing where I live. So I think just really understanding all of the actions and if there are any alternatives, because there might not be a lot, or there might be. And I don't know that until I see it down on paper, right? And so I think that's where it would be really great to have a meeting and kind of have all this stuff out and invite the community so that we're all really like being transparent and open. I mean, again, it's been 2 years, right? And so it's a long time, right? We kind of all like are just barely, I'm personally barely just getting over the first phase. And just really thinking of lessons learned and how we can improve the second phase. And we're getting off to a not so great start with our community. And so I'd like to change that, I
Yeah,
guess.
I think we're on the
I think we're on the right path.
right path now.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Now that everyone had the shock of the
Right.
letter followed by the immediate.
Yeah, that
staking
Monday
and-
morning was not pretty in my world.
Yeah.
Lots of phone calls, lots of people going, what the heck? I even walked into my place of work and there was a stake on the other side of something.
I saw that.
Everybody was like, oh, what's going on here? And so really difficult when a city council member doesn't know that that's happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
And I believe we had our last public meeting on October of 2024 was the one that we had, a public meeting.
Sounds about right.
so a year ago.
Around on it, yeah, so, and timeline wise, I get it, like, we, unfortunately, with our DOT timeline and design, we have to start looking at things years out with our process and how things go. And I totally get the frustration on that. I get it, I'm looking at projects right now that we're putting in 10 years out and starting these discussions. So I get the frustration with that for sure.
Well, I
And
really,
definitely, I'll keep in touch and
I really appreciate you joining. This has been super, super helpful.
Very helpful,
Really
thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
yeah.
Yep, I think just scheduling some
Yeah,
meetings,
no
getting some
problem.
things down on paper, and I think involved in like some of these actions so that we can over next year, like, learn. I guess I really wanna learn from anything.
We're
that
gonna
we-
know a lot by the end and then it's gonna be over.
Right, but we also just.
And then 50 years later, they'll do it again.
We also just completed a phase, so I'd like to learn any lessons learned from that phase one.
Anyone else have any?
And I got one more comment
Sure.
here. So for this sidewalk, I would like to say, I guess, in the next 6 months, 6 months or less, need to make a decision, for our process.
Great.
To rearrange the design again. It's gonna take time, it's gonna take money. And if real estate has to change at all, that just pushes us back again. So
Well, I don't think,
I'll stress that, and I will be available anytime for discussions, phone calls.
thank you. I think real estate would become easier if anything, hopefully. You know, it'd be less work instead of more. I guess you have to redesign it, but, anyway, yeah, we have a little time. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, great. Let's stay in touch and then the public who has a question, would anyone care to open the floor?
Make a motion to open the floor.
Second.
Motion by Jen, second by Don to open the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Jeremy?
My name is Jeremy Oswald. I live at 401 West Fifth Street. Just a quick question. The documents related to this plan, are they available somewhere that the public can see them?
We normally have them on our website. Do we not have a phase 2?
I haven't put anything new up there since probably October.
Okay, so just, are there updated plans that we can have access?
Yeah, I can get something over to Tony.
Great.
Jess, are you at, this is Randy, are you at like 90%, are you at 30, 60, 90, where are you at in the process?
60.
But you are,
Technically 60, yeah.
and you have,
Sorry. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask if you could also maybe include an aerial with the state road right of way designated and an accumulated total of not in the road right of way land potential or just thought of acquisitions, however you want to term that, so the council really has an idea, they can really see, not black and white, but in color, what those numbers are that you're looking at, because I think that would help them, maybe shade it if you want, or whatever too, just so they can really
Yeah.
discern what it is, that would be
You
great.
mean like the permanent versus limited easements?
Yes,
Mhm.
TLEs
Yeah,
and
I
LTs
did
or whatever,
definitely.
permanent is permanent, absolutely correct.
Hey, Jess,
Yeah,
is there a WISDOT page for phase 2? Because I know there was one for
There is.
phase 1. Because that's what I did
There
on the
is.
website. I would added the link on the website to the WISDOT site.
Sorry, we took over your question time. there,
I'm
Jeremy.
done. I just want to say thank you for the time. Appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't updated it in a while, but the link should still be good. That's
Okay.
out there. And I can work on updating that as well.
Is there anyone else from the public, as long as the floor is open, that wants to ask anything else? Otherwise, we can have a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion by Jen, second by Doug, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Jessica. It's been very helpful. Really appreciate it.
Yes, no problem. Again, let me know if you guys have any questions or just get a hold of me if you need me.
Thank you. And our next meeting is the Monday after Apple Fest, where Jess is gonna be here in person. So.
Okay.
And that's not really like a public meeting necessarily, but I would assume that if council wanted to be there, that could be a thing.
Yeah,
No.
yep,
Okay, great. Thank you again for your time,
all
Jess.
right. Yes, thank you guys.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye. All right, our next item then is closed
So we're
session.
not gonna talk about anymore.
Oh.
It's gonna be.
There's no,
There's no any more discussion or
I
anything?
mean, it was just an update from DOT, I don't know.
You can have discussion, but no action can happen.
I just wanted to have, while we have Jerry here, I just want to have him discuss a little bit about the stormwater part at North End, if he had anything to add.
What can you tell us, Jerry?
I mean, we're talking about it, so I kind of
Maybe I
just
can
want
help put this in layman's terms a little bit. So I was sitting here listening to it, yeah, so first, almost all the land acquisition is for the drainage, because they're upsizing pipes. I saw the thing when I went to review the plan, I didn't see any land acquisition for sidewalk. Some of that acquisition also is for, because of the new piping and stuff, the state has to meet, they can't just have it drop off into no man's land. Same thing with, on this end, when they did land acquisitions down here, it was to meet their requirements for side slopes down by the buildings where the ground was so high, they had to cut it back, or down by, on the south side where, on the very end where it dropped off really sharp. They can't just do a 2-to-1, they had to do a 4-to-1. So when they impact those areas, they do purchases to make those improvements. But then it's given back to the residents, but yes.
And that's not us, right?
That's not us.
That's not
That's
us,
not
that's DOT's drainage.
Yes, so the new drainage, so you understand, they're upsizing all the pipes, okay? And I'm the lady that was in here speaking tonight, I looked it up. Now, they're not creating any new drainage. They're just repairing the existing drainage ditches and upsizing the pipes to adequately, because they take a look at like a 50-year, just like we did here when we upgraded all the drainage pipes going down through Washington. They do the same thing, because this is a 50-year project. So they won't be back for 50 years. So they have to anticipate watershed and everything else to make sure that these pipes are upsized to their appropriate size. So I know that almost all the pipes are either going to be a third or a double bigger to allow for that drainage. And so the discussion, was through all this, and then it'd be interesting if Tony looks up. I'm 99% sure that the city approved that sidewalk on the south side, or Jessica would not have.
I just found the minutes, and the motion was, then it's moved to approve the sidewalk or the trail on the south side, move the right turn lane into Memorial Park, have a crosswalk at 6th Avenue East and 8th Avenue East, and that was carried unanimously. So that was.
Yeah, and the reason behind that was part of the Scenario project, when they came to us, was a big discussion about the movement and the flow of pedestrians from that area, along with the BART bus. New being installed there, and make sure to pick up, and they couldn't do it on the highway. And so that's how it ended up being revisited. And then the state came along, and Meyer was originally, they said, oh, we'll do 5 feet. We asked for 6 feet. They're like, yeah, you have to pay for a foot. Then they came back and said, no, we're just gonna pay for the whole thing. And then they turned around and came back and said, no, you do have some shared costs on there, but it wasn't much. So you're talking a $700,000 worth of work. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's less than 40,000.
Yes.
And the city's expensive. I understand the impact and everything else, and the neighbors being, but the sidewalks and the utilities are all going on right away. It's not impacting private property except for the disturbance. And we can't move the sanitary on the north side of the road, because when we upgraded the water down there, that's already on the north side of the road. We have to have a minimum of 8 feet of separation. So in order to keep it off the road, we need to put it on the south side.
I knew there was a reason, just like, okay.
And so, and it is ideal if you go down and you look, especially once you start to get past Legion Park, you take a look. All those sanitary manholes are in a devastating shape. They've been hit, whacked, plowed off, docked off, repaired, and it is it is better for the community, the workers, and just the whole system itself to move that system off to the shoulder of the road. Anywhere where we can put it where it's not in the roadway, it's an extreme beneficial to that service.
I'm gonna throw something out there that sounds a little weird right now, but I couldn't help but notice when I was in I don't know, Madison or something, that there was a manhole cover that was a Madison kind of branded manhole cover. And I was like, we have the foundry right here, can't they make manhole covers if we have to replace a bunch? And I talked to Taylor and he's like, yeah, we can do that. So I don't know if it's possible to get this into the conversation at all, but I don't know whose contract that goes under. But I would like that to be an item of discussion.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we were working on phase one, we were looking for some parts and we couldn't find them, come to find out. They're making them right down here, so we were trying to go through vendors, because Neenah Foundry actually uses them to manufacture some of their specialty items, and we're running all over the state. I talked to him down here, and he's like, yeah, we got it right here. I was like, who knew?
So it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
If we can somehow tie that in.
So stormwater grates or, I mean, there's all sorts of.
All sorts of things, yeah, so.
Yeah,
To
so,
go back to the sewer real
yeah,
quick,
so the
I
sewer,
was
yes.
really, I know that I understand, I just don't want us to take anything off the table. Can you just talk to me a little bit about if we were to leave it in the middle, like what that means? I'm not saying we wanna do it, I'm just like,
So what it is
let's have a conversation.
By upgrading the sewer and with the state and the soil conditions and everything else, the state is gonna mandate because of the soil conditions. And I already got a chance to talk, Jessica had talked about that today. Those soils are not suitable to today's standards to be placing water sewer with the existing soils. So you're gonna have to be exporting and importing a lot of material, which is gonna extremely make this job, I would say no less than it's gonna add $1 million, put it in the middle of the road.
Okay, so.
Just to meet this.
No, yeah, I
the
just wanna make
existing
sure we have the
standards, you know what I'm
conversation,
saying?
so south side of the road seems like
Yeah.
a very, seems like that's.
It's unfortunate, but in the
Our option.
long run, you know, it will be beneficial to the community.
Can I just add as well? So one of the reasons that we have taken the opportunity to replace the water and sewer is, if any of you remember, on that side of the city before any of this work started, there was work in the road because we had problems with our sewer lines that we needed to replace. And sometimes it was like 2-3 times in the summer, we'd have to dig a road up, a highway up.
And it was like 20
to
to
fix
30
it.
grand every time.
Sometimes it was 2 times in a week.
Exactly.
Right.
So hopefully not in 10 years if it's done, but in the future, if there's an issue with the sewer line, it's a lot better not to have to rip up the highway and cause.
Yeah, and you know, and truly, it is an impact onto the residents, I get that. You know, nobody here is saying, hey, we just wanna come in and wipe out your front yards and do all this, do that. It's, you know, it is really what is beneficial for the city in a whole, not only just putting it there, but cost effectively trying to sit, you know, how do you justify moving a utility from a road right away into a middle of the road and spending an extra $1 million? You know, I mean,
Well,
I
as long
get
as
it,
we can stay within the right of way
yeah,
for the most part.
yes, we can. I mean, it's gonna damage some trees, you know, and we can look at, you know, what are we gonna do to rectify that? We're gonna do some plantings, we're gonna, you know, how are we going, you know, but, ultimately.
And I do think the safe that was brought up is definitely something that we did talk about that a little bit. I think we need to talk more on.
Well, we'll find out what the process is, for us to
Yeah,
work.
so appreciate it, Jerry. I just
Yeah,
wanted to
and
get-
and also what Chris talked about today, she's gonna get you the information. It'll be up to you. And you know how it works. If you wanna reduce that speed limit in that area, you just don't take no for an answer. You have to remember, this is your city. It's your people, and safety is your concern. And if you wanna slow it down, you know, you just stick to your guns and, you know.
Anybody driven into Iron River? I pulled over there every time. It's like 25 for a long time, it's 35. You're like, you think it should be 55? I mean, yeah, and so I feel like there's some options for us,
Is
but
there anything
thanks,
else I
Jerry.
can help anybody with?
So, you're talking, speed limits, this, that, and the other, I've got neighbors and people down on my end of town where it's already done, and the speed limit. A lot of people are suggesting that we missed.
I'm gonna agree, it
Slow down.
speeds way too fast coming into the
Way
city
too fast.
on both ends. I mean, it is, I see it all the time.
But it's,
Again,
it goes from 35 to 45 at the end, so
At the end.
people start speeding up before it's even.
You know, and, you know, if you make the right requests and then, you know, you plead your place to the state, you know, your safety concerns and, you know, if it's a safety issue, you really feel a safety issue, you're going to, you know, they may buck you a little, you stick to your guns and then,
Especially
you know, a
with
lot
the
of
gun limit
communities,
now.
and I'll tell you,
Yes.
a lot of communities, if you see, they're investing in those speed limit signs, so you drive in, those solar ones that flash. I come into those, you know, and I'm always going fast, also, and I slow down. You know, I don't, you know, you don't like seeing them, but they're a little on the expensive side, but
You
they
go
do
slow
a
anyway,
really
Jerry.
good job of getting the speed down.
And that question, we brought that up on phase one. The question of the speed limit though is completely separate from the reconstruction project.
Yes.
There really isn't any
Tie.
coordination there.
But there would be no benefit to requesting one on.
We can request it, but it has no impact.
They'd just be totally separate items that we have
Yes.
to bring separately.
Yep. And they can't be rolled into the reconstruction or anything else.
Well, sure, but it might be a little easier on our administration side if they're doing one of them to just do two. You
For
know,
the speed limit request, yes, but I think not to roll it into the reconstruction
Sure.
issue, yes.
Yeah, you can do the speed limit request at any time. Any crossings, you can submit those at any time, it doesn't have to be new construction.
It just so happens that the construction is gonna give us even more reasons
Yes.
to make
I
our
think we
case for
should
the speed
at
limit.
least try to get that solved with the state prior to the construction, so they know what numbers to put on the signs, so we don't have to put the signs and put new numbers on.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So is that something we need to do, is?
But we're gonna be making the request too, so I don't know how long it takes to, I don't think it takes that long.
The
to get a
council
speed
doesn't
limit.
need to worry about directing anybody to do that? We
No,
just-
I think that in along Randy's line of comments earlier, that for the speed limit request, we should wait and not make that request in winter.
Right.
Yeah.
Do it.
So do that in the spring. They said here too for the phase two plans are being finalized in August of 2026, so we make that request spring of next year, so that when we're finalizing those plans, we can get that incorporated into it.
My question is, does council need to direct city administration to do that, or is that just
No.
understood?
It's, it's understood.
Okay.
I think that was part of the discussion that was captured.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right. Now we'll move on. And our next item is closed session. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Also, once we go
Darren?
we want to
Is there a
attend
second?
Randy.
Well, yeah, so motion to go to closed session, including staff,
Staff,
or just Randy and
Randy, Jerry, and Tony. And do we have to do
And Max?
Max?
No,
Max is always.
the item that included me is
I was gonna say, you're,
self-explanatory. I can stay and then excuse myself from here.
Okay, okay, so motion by Darren, second by Jared, and then roll call vote, please.
Darren Miller,
yes.
Eric Sarine,
Yes.
Jen Mazias,
Yes.
Doug Emmett,
Yes.
Dave Anderson,
Yes.
Don Benson,
Yes.
Jared Trumbo.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to closed session at 7:22.
Tom, before you go, I think we should take a picture side by side, because we kind of matched tonight, did you notice?
Recording stopped.
You're done.
So unless anyone has an issue, I feel that Darren and Eric can represent myself with the concerns of staffing. I'm gonna excuse myself because I'm late for my first rehearsal. I'm,
Hey.